off by gathering some references of Belle that I find online, just to get her original design in my head. Speaking of heads, I'm tracing her head right now, also from pictures I found online that I think look similar to how Belle would look like. I'm tracing because I don't think that my drawing would be proportionally correct if I drew it myself, but all the shading is from my head. So I start off by shading with a base skin tone color, adding on really high contrast shadows in the places that I think the shadows should be, like under the hair, below the cheekbones, by the eyes and nose, etc. So now I'm starting to add in some lighting effects because I want her to be in like a candlelit room or something where the light is warm toned. So I'm just adding that to the right side of her face to create some depth. Now I'm going back in with the shadows to soften the lighting effects and make it look a little bit more realistic. And I'm also adding deeper color to the lips to once again add depth before putting the light colors on top of it. Now I'm doing the eyes, starting off with the blue and lining them up to a dark white. Belle's eyes are a greenish brown, so I start with the brown and add the green in. Going in with shadows around the eyes, making sure that I have a deeper shadow on the darker side of her face. Now I'm just going back in with shadow to make the lighting difference even brighter, adding it especially under the hair. So at this point I realize that her face is quite yellow, so I'm just lining it up with a lighter pinkish color that is more closely to the reference photo that I found. Now I'm going into the eyebrows, adding some hair to define them some more, and I'm also going to be making them slightly darker to match the future hair color slightly more. I'm just adding some final highlights before moving on to the hair. Speaking of the hair, I start off with a base color just like my person. And I'm just adding in some deeper shadows and making sure that I can really see the waves of the hair with the shadows. Now I'm adding in some light to just make it look a little bit more three-dimensional, I guess. But then I kind of just gave up on that and just marked the spot of the curls with the light because it was easier to see than the shadow, so it'd be easier for me going back in later with the hairbrush. The brush that looks like hair. Here I'm trying to make it look more realistic because I realize that this kind of looks dumb, and so I'm just going back in with shadows, and I just realized that the hair color was completely wrong, so I completely redid it, and now it looks too dark for some reason, honestly, now that I'm looking back on it. But this is the color that I went with, so I'm adding in some light, making it a little bit less dark, but it still looks like hair, I guess. I don't know. The hair was kind of confusing part for me. I just messed around until something worked. So I just cleaned up the hair a little bit and adding some lighting, and I'm adding the dress now. So I am going back to my reference photos. As you can see, I've got this gold thing up there because I thought it would be cool to have the kind of top part of Belle's dress to be more gold rather than whatever material it is in the movie. I don't know. But I was just trying to really get that shiny gold feel. I was mainly just color dropping the colors from there onto there and trying to figure out the folds. And as you can see, you can't really see what I'm doing actually, but I'm just trying to make the highlights and shadows even more defined, I guess, because it didn't really look like fabric when it was just the airbrush. So now I'm adding some shadows to the neck just to make that a little bit more realistic now that I'm done with the dress. Just tidying up the edges a little bit to make it look not like a blob. And now I'm adding in the background. I wasn't really sure what I wanted, and first I wanted like a staircase behind her, but then it didn't really make sense with the arches too. I added a sun, and as you can see, I took away the staircase because, I don't know. I didn't do any perspective drawing on this background just because I didn't really care that much. It was just in the background of the piece, but anyway. It's kind of happening a little bit fast, so I'm sorry. I'm just adding in more shadow, trying to make it look as though the sun were like shining, and that's the main source of the light. But there's also like a light above her, which is like the candle. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't look that good, but yeah, that's my drawing.